Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's live. Now, we've got a lot to talk about, and my goal is to give you as much information as possible within a reasonable amount of time. We're going to be talking about this Bitcoin halving event. We're also going to be talking about this $200 billion pump that's gone into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and good old Solana, and a little bit of XRP, okay? But hopefully by the time you're done with tonight's live, you're going to have a good understanding of how to effectively profit from this event that's coming up in crypto, which is the Bitcoin halving. It's the most anticipated event in Bitcoin's life, where every 4 years, miners only receive half the reward for their verification of transactions on the Bitcoin network without going too deeply into it. So let's get with the flavor. If you are new and you like what we're going to do this evening, make sure when you check out, hit the like button, subscribe, and do all that bell ringing so you get notified about more flavor like this. So let's get with the program. I'm going to chuck the glasses on and help you guys understand this whole thing about Bitcoin halving. Here we go, gang. Let's go. So firstly, let's talk about this trigger. Now, according to Forbes and the gentleman called Billy Bambra, he's saying that the real reason behind the sudden 200 billion Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP price surge is because of two events, right? One that is about to happen and one effectively that has happened, but it's effectively given us a little bit of FUD, okay? So the first one we're going to look at is this story about Biden, all right? He's now trying to get, or should I say, investigate the energy usage that is required by the miners or used by the miners to mine Bitcoin. And I think it's a cover-up because this guy is out to kill cryptocurrency. Why? He wants to protect the dollar. Well, how do you protect a fiat currency, right? That has so far got a $36 trillion debt deficit over its head. It's going to be a little bit difficult to really endorse the idea of the fiat. That's why Bitcoin in principle was created, all right? Now, he's gunning for cryptocurrency, and in the article, he goes on to talk about the Energy Information Administration. He wants to know what is the energy consumption by these miners. In my opinion, if anything does happen with regards to this investigation of how much energy miners are using, I think they're going to try and tax the miners, all right? That's the worst thing that they can do, quite frankly, all right? Does it kill Bitcoin? No, not really. All right, miners might not be happy if there is a tax on their profits, but I guess that's the way life is when it comes to Biden's administration. They're chucking bills all over the place. Do they get passed? Well, that's another story. I mean, look, if Biden were to win another term, and I want your opinions on this, all right? I think we'll have a good run. Now, I don't know if any of you are going to be happy with this, but I think we'll have a good run if Donald Trump does actually take the title and become president. The guy's got his own NFT, so we're already in crypto-friendly environments, ladies and gentlemen, okay? You know, it only makes sense that if we have Trump in power, then crypto's in a good position, in my opinion. Let me know what you think of that, because Biden, again, he'll wipe out crypto. That's what I think he could do. But this is FUD, all right? Is FUD going to really put people off? So what is the idea behind this $200 billion move, per se? Chinese New Year. Now, stick with me on this one, okay? In this article right here, Marcus, all right, is a gentleman who is the head of research at 10x Research, says in his emails that he believes that Bitcoin is going to drive up to around 52,000 through March and then surge to around 70,000 by the end of the year. So he was talking about how the Chinese Lunar New Year falls on February, and it either falls between January and February. So it's either the 1st of January going all the way through to about the 21st of February. It's always on those dates. And if we go back to this image right here, you can see just about, if I just actually zoom in, you can see when the dates fall. All right. So let's just go to near to the current date. That's where we are right now. The 10th of February is the start of the new year, and it's usually around a 2-week window where the celebrations are, all right? So I thought to myself, how has he come up with the price point of 52,000? So I then went back and looked from 2018 on the new Chinese New Year, what happens to Bitcoin? So here are the actual events, okay? So we go from Friday the 16th of February, okay? And we go in and we have a look. So I'm trying to work out how we come up with 52,000. When the Chinese New Year came, at the close of the candlestick on that day, if it's over a 2-week period, right, what happens after the first few days? Well, I noticed that it went up 20%, well, 19.75%, all right? And that was when Bitcoin was priced at 9,960. No ETFs, no anyone endorsing it. This was when it was to itself, okay? We zoom out. We go to the next term, all right? We then have a look here. At this point, at the Chinese New Year, on the 5th of February 2019, it didn't really trade much, but then we saw this influx of liquidity coming in, and it made a 21% move before it corrected again, all right? So I went back even further. I wanted to look more. When was the next one? Saturday, the 25th of January, 2020. Chinese New Year, happy days. It surged up 25% before it corrected again, all right? Cool. Next one. What's the next one that shows us? All right, so that's all the way up here when Bitcoin was in that bull run. We have a look and we can see Chinese New Year, 12th of February. Bitcoin surges 23%. Okay, are we starting to see a common theme here? The bear market per se. Bitcoin, right here. Chinese New Year, 1st of February 2022. Bitcoin surges 26%. Okay, so I'm starting to hear 26s, 23s, 20s. What happened here? In this area right here, when Bitcoin took that mad move to the downside, on the Chinese New Year, we only saw a little move of 7%, but it then went on to gain up to 30,000. So, all right, but I wanted to just look at what happened shortly after the event, okay? So we only got a small one right there. Then we go into 2024, and on the 10th of February, which is in 2 days' time, we're going to have the celebratory Chinese New Year, right? Now, this gentleman, Mr. Thielen, Marcus, is suggesting that Bitcoin's going to go to 52,000, okay? If it follows the trend of sticking in the 20% every time we hit a new year, Chinese New Year, the logic says that Bitcoin, if it goes up 20% from here, will sit at 54,000, all right? Now, this gentleman is talking about Bitcoin getting to 52,000 around March time. So we've got a little bit of time. Now, the time delay is, in my opinion, it's just been thrown out there, all right? He may have been considering the idea that it's going to retrace from one point to the next, all right? So I wanted to dive in a little bit more to understand if this was a phenomena, or was it just because, you know, it's just the Chinese New Year, everyone's optimistic, and this time round it's the year of the dragon. So mad love to all my guys in China who are celebrating the Chinese New Year. Mad love to all the dragon guys. I'm an ox, so whatever you guys are, put it in the comments. I want to know what the pattern watchers are. And if you're a chicken, it's going to be a bit of a sad story. So, you know, or a rat. But anyways, so I thought to myself, okay, going back to this article right here, those were his price points. But what was causing, why does the new year actually encourage movement? Okay. It took me over to this chart right here. The Bitcoin miners position index yet again. And this is going to be following up into our main story this evening, which is the Bitcoin halving. Okay? Now check this out. The miners themselves, okay? And what I did, rather than bore you with it and go through it, I took every point of the Chinese New Year when it started to pump. And it married up to when the miners were selling. So historically, we can put together the idea that when the Chinese New Year hits, miners are always looking at selling. Okay? If you just pull this up, go to CryptoQuant. It's free. I believe this is free, if I'm correct. If not, I think it is free, yes. I don't know. I don't know. I don't even remember paying for this, okay? But the mining position index effectively showed me that miners sell when it comes to the Chinese New Year. So that can help us justify Bitcoin's price action to the upside, all right? Now, with that being said, okay, how does that help you going into investing in cryptocurrency? How are we going to prepare for the mining, or should I say the halving event? All right. Well, that leads me over to this bad boy right here. Okay. Now, before we continue, I just want to highlight a couple of things before I continue on with this. Okay. I'm getting a lot of questions from people about the hybrid system and how to get access to it. Just to nip things in the bud, if you want to get access to the free trading course, please go over to the homepage, then go to courses. Once you click courses, you'll effectively be brought up to this page right here where it says breaking down the hybrid system. Once you've gone into this page, in order to get access to the course, you've got to become a bronze member. That means you've got to go through the checkout, and then it will zero everything out for you, and then you'll be able to get access to it. Because what will happen is if you don't have the bronze membership, you'll just be brought to this page right here, and you won't get the access to all of the free videos, okay? So you've got to become a bronze member, and that just involves going through the checkout, email, job done, and then you'll get access to the free course. We do that just so we can cut out all the spam that hits the website, and it's just a pain in the backside to really solve in the back end. All right. So yeah, make sure that you become a bronze member and you get access to this bad boy right here. All right. So then it saves you asking questions, chasing how to solve it. All right. Cool. Now let's go back to this main topic right here that I want to dive into. The halving. How can we profit from it? Okay. It's the biggest event in cryptocurrency. If we go over and look at this, since 2009, when Bitcoin started, right? The halving event is effectively the halving for the reward that miners get when they're mining the transactions or verifying the transactions, okay? So as each cycle comes in, so the first halving was 2012. 4 years later was the second halving. And what you'll see is the block number is increasing, all right? But the reward is actually decreasing. So this is what's going to be justifying these rallies to the upside with Bitcoin as we get closer and closer to the halving event. That's why Bitcoin pumps during this time. We can take other things like Bitcoin open interest, which you can see right now. People are borrowing money from exchanges and it's going up. People are anticipating it. Miners are selling right now. And why is it that they're selling? Well, in order for them to maintain the idea of continuing business, look, they're going to be getting half the reward for their efforts. So what they have to do now is they need to pull up as much cash as they can. And according to some sources, they were saying, well, actually Riot, the stock company, crypto mining company listed on the US stock market, one of the guys over there was saying that we're trying to sell our Bitcoin reserves so that we can maintain our operating costs. Now, this is where the opportunity comes in. You either want to get involved in Bitcoin either from a trader's perspective or an investor's perspective, all right? If you're going to get involved in a trader's perspective in the halving itself, you are effectively waiting for Bitcoin to make some big moves to the upside, similar to the ones today, and get ready for what we would call retraces back down and capitalize on going short, hypothetically. When you see Bitcoin has been ranging out for some time and it's not breaking down, you could make the assumption that it's getting ready to move up. Open interest is where it's at right now because people are actively doing that. We can see the various opinions of traders where we go into something like this. We look at the heat map and we can then say, well, how active are people trading this event right now? Well, this is the leading up to it. That's why things are getting busy in crypto, all right? We've already got these shorts all the way up here around 47,000 mark. And we've got quite a few long liquidations down here at 41. And then we go down to 38 as well. So people are trading the hype of the actual halving moment. But the beef of where I believe you're going to be able to make money in regards to this halving event, okay? What do miners need? They need graphics cards, right? Now, if you don't want to trade and you don't want to buy Bitcoin, there's two ways you can go about it. You can either get involved in the ETF, okay? Where the ETF itself, if we pull this up right now, the ETF for Bitcoin is so much cheaper than what Bitcoin is, all right? This is the ETF. It's gone down, and now it's working its way back up. We go into it on the hybrid system, and we can see over here, let's pull this up. The ETF's doing very well, getting ready to close our final gap at 26.56, okay? The ETF doesn't mean you hold Bitcoin. It just means that you are holding a contract, right? That represents the movement of Bitcoin, in other words, okay? So if Bitcoin is going up, the ETF in principle should be going up. You eliminate a lot of exposure, but you don't hold the coin itself, you're right? You do not hold any of it. Now, from an investor's point of view, when it comes to actually taking advantage of this situation, you then got to say to yourself, hold on a second, what am I going to do? Am I going to invest in the ETF or am I going to invest in Bitcoin? Well, let's just do the math together, right? You buy one Bitcoin. In order for you to make 100% return on that, you need Bitcoin to move up 100%. That's going to take longer. And I've already addressed this. If you get involved in the ETF itself, where we actually go over here, you buy one ETF, okay? You ain't going to earn much. But if you were to use the same amount of liquidity that you would buying one Bitcoin or even half a Bitcoin, you'd be getting yourself a substantial amount of contracts in the ETF, which means that you would only be obliged to hold the ETF for a short period of time. So we know Bitcoin's volatility is a little bit wild. So now we know we can take advantage of that volatility so that when Bitcoin moves up like this, we can then say to ourselves, all right then, why don't I sell? Why don't I do what the miners are doing? As Bitcoin's price is going up, why don't I sell? Now, if miners are selling the Bitcoin right now, okay, and they want to increase their or protect their operating costs so that they can keep up with the next halving and maintaining the mining so that they're not losing out on anything, they're going to be buying graphics cards, which leads me on to the next thing, NVIDIA. Now, I've been doing a bit of research on the types of graphics cards that mining companies would be using, okay? Now, if you're going to do mining yourself, it's going to be a costly thing for you, okay? You'd have to get the really good graphics cards, and you'd have to have a lot of them. And if you Google what a mining company looks like, you can see they're using warehouses, okay, so that they can mine the cryptocurrency. Now, if Bitcoin is too expensive for you to purchase, but you know that the volatility is happening and miners are selling, which is why prices are going up, okay? They want to protect themselves with this halving as well, because if they miss out or they're not ready for this halving, it can compromise them and they end up spending more money. Most smaller mining companies are going to go out of business because if they can't keep up and if they don't have enough reserves of Bitcoin to maintain the cash flow or operating costs, they're going to lose out. So when we talk about the bigger mining companies, I'm talking about companies like Riot, okay? We've got Riot over here. Riot Platforms. It's a mining company, provides exposure to the blockchain ecosystem through targeted investments in the sector. Who else have we got? We've got BitTorrent, Bitfarms. Got this bad boy right here, Canada-based cryptocurrency mining company. Look at how much they are actually at, man. $2.52. These are really cheap stocks, okay? Now, the companies like this, all right, you want to look at their fundamentals, see if they are actually being able to do well. The less debt they have, the better, all right, because they're not going to be prone to high interest rates and they may actually may not have that much operating costs. If they've got more debt, then that might be a bit of a problem for us. If we look at Mara, okay, let's have a look at Mara Digital a second, all right? So digital asset technology co-mines cryptocurrencies with a focus on blockchain ecosystem. Now, Mara's got a debt of 203%. So these guys are going to have to make sure that they can maintain their operating costs when the halving happens because they're going to be getting less rewards. So you can see that smaller companies are going to lose their back. That's the truth, okay? But the one company, in my belief, if all these miners are selling right now, and we know that's the case because we've got something like this in 2023, 1.6 billion in stock was sold. So that tells me miners are getting rid of Bitcoin right now just to raise up capital, okay? That's why Bitcoin's going up. So we've established that. In my opinion, investing in a company like NVIDIA, it's not financial advice. It's the route that you would take as an investor to set yourself up for the halving. It's not, on the day of the halving, you'll get the volatility, all right, in terms of trading. But the actual halving event, there will be a ripple effect. that ripple effect is going to be graphics cards, companies involved in the game of cryptocurrency from the stock market's perspective, okay? Analysts are calling for a $700 target in NVIDIA, all right? Now, NVIDIA makes the graphics cards. Now, there may be other companies, but NVIDIA is the go-to. So we go back into the idea of NVIDIA and look at NVIDIA's shares. Here we go. It's now close to surpassing Amazon in terms of market cap, okay? Already, that's a win. Their earnings going in, and look, their earnings per share next year is fantastic, all right? $700. Right now, it's at $696, okay? They're going for $700 and more. I believe that these miners are going to be smacking up all of the graphics cards just so that they can keep up with their systems that they've got going right now. That's naturally going to inflate NVIDIA's price because there's going to be a demand for graphics cards. Not just that, it's not just graphics cards that they use for mining. What about AI? Data centers, okay? So then it will work to pay attention to companies that provide data systems. So when you focus on data system companies, those guys are going to be offering their services. Those guys are simply going to go to NVIDIA because they're going to need the graphics cards to do the AI power. So data mining companies themselves, cryptocurrency mining companies, all right, they're all going to go to NVIDIA or companies of that acquire. Like, so you got AMD right here, Advanced Micro Devices, right? Same environment, all right? Microprocessors, embedded media graphics processors, chipsets for computers and consumer devices, all right? NVIDIA, if I'm correct, has now created a new chip for Ethereum in terms of mining Ethereum. So that's going to be very interesting. But anyway, yeah, I missed that article. I don't even know where it is. I wanted to talk to you about it. But anyway, but you see what I mean? How we can prepare ourselves for the halving. You can either buy Bitcoin and you'll be trading the logic of Bitcoin's movement, all right? You will be trading it. Now, the impact of the halving itself is going to bring wild price action in Bitcoin. We know that. The same way it's going to move up is the same way it's going to go back down again. So please prepare yourselves for it. If you're an investor and you come to Bitcoin and behave like a trader, make the distinction because you're going to end up losing. That's why I always say, like I said 2-3 days ago, Bitcoin was going to recover this red vector candle call. And then we've got this gap right here. And I said that if holders are buying Bitcoin inside of this area, if Bitcoin were to break out of this zone right here, I'd be considering taking some profits off the table, okay? The same way miners take profits off the table to maintain their operating costs. If you had to maintain operating costs, would you be taking profit from your cryptocurrency or from your Bitcoin portfolio? Of course you would, because that's what it's about. It's all about the return, okay? But don't come into the halving as an investor and behave like a trader. Come into it as an investor and maybe not so much just, if you're not buying Bitcoin, okay, go and have a look at other avenues on the back of Bitcoin. Because remember, you need Bitcoin to move 100% for you to make a return of 100% to double your money. All right? I buy Bitcoin now, 45,000. I need it to go up another 45,000 to make back my investment. Oh, forget that. That's too long. I don't want that. I want something that I know that I can pull out and take advantage of. For example, the ETF. I can capitalize on the ETF. I can buy more ETF contracts, which are going to be the representation of Bitcoin's price, okay? And if Bitcoin goes up, the ETF in principle should be going up as well. If the miners are selling up their stock so that they can effectively keep up with operating costs, those operating costs mean that they need to get more powerful rigs, mining equipment, graphics cards, so that they can actually keep up with the mining and not disrupt their services that they've got going. So they're only going to go to NVIDIA. They're going to go to AMD. They're going to go to companies that provide these graphic cards. Investing in those companies are effectively investing in Bitcoin at a discount. Why? Because they're benefiting off the back of Bitcoin. We are benefiting off it because they need the graphics cards to run their business. Now, this article, where was it? I believe it was in this one right here. In the miner reserves ahead of April's halving, Bitcoin outlook clouded by falling miner reserves. So they're pulling out their reserves because they're selling so that they can create effectively the more operating costs, okay? So this is where it goes into it and says, miners are beginning to sell more of their coins to bolster balance sheets and fund growth ahead of tougher times for margins when block rewards are halved in April, okay? And this is what Matthew Siegel, whatever his name is, head of digital asset research at VanEck, okay? After the halving, scale will matter even more. So if the companies do already have big big mining farms themselves, that would mean that they've got a lot of Bitcoin behind them to sustain it, okay? And here we go. We've got this chart right here. Miners' holdings of the largest digital asset have been declining, okay? Miner sales appear to be weighing on Bitcoin's price, which has struggled since January the 10th, approval of the first US exchange-traded funds to directly hold the digital asset, okay? So pointless information there. But since the ETF approvals, the net 3,617 Bitcoin have moved from miner wallets to exchanges, okay? So that already there is information that miners are selling, which is why Bitcoin's price is going up. You take profit when they take profit. They're taking profit for a more legitimate reason, okay? They need the money to operate, to continue, so that they can then profit from it later on. If you're in a position to take a profit, take it. And don't be bitter about it in the sense where you are effectively angry because Bitcoin went up. I mean, come on. It goes up, it goes down. We know the Chinese New Year itself is the reason why things are moving right now. And that happens on the 10th of February. And then we've got the guys that talk about the moon cycle. How many of you trade the moon cycle? There are guys that do it. They literally look up. That's when the market's moving. Okay, we know what we're doing there. All right. So to summarize it all for you, ladies and gentlemen, the best way for you to really hit this story about the miners, in my opinion, or the halving event, this is what I personally would do. If I don't want to buy Bitcoin because it's too volatile, I'm going to prepare myself for the halving event in the sense where I'm going to be looking at companies who are already mining crypto, okay? I'm then going to be paying attention to their stock price. If their stock price is cheap enough for me to buy a substantial amount of shares, to grant that when the halving event happens, I'm going to see some volatility, naturally, these companies in the stock market are going to see the benefit from it, okay? People buying cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is a thing right now. Their share price is naturally going to increase, okay? I'd get involved in cryptocurrency stock. If I want to be involved in the game, but I don't want to buy the stock, I might get myself involved in the ETF. So you've got two avenues, ETF and stock, cryptocurrency-based stock. If you're mad for the volatility, then you go and buy the cryptocurrency directly, but have a plan. Even if you use a chart like this, the miners position index, when this is going up, that's when you should be really selling, okay? Because when these guys effectively stop the selling, prices are going to be coming down. They're not going to be selling when Bitcoin's price drops. Doesn't make sense for them to do that. They need to improve the odds of getting their best value or return, all right? So when people see Bitcoin make a move like this and get excited to hold on to it, granted, Bitcoin could continue higher. And yeah, I told you so. And then a day later, it drops. Then the told you so ends up being to yourself, I should have sold. What was wrong in selling? See, that's the thing in cryptocurrency, in my opinion. Bitcoin goes up, you are solidified to hold on to it. The miners are selling it. And if the miners are selling it to generate cash flow so they can maintain their operating costs, if they can, so can you. All right? You can get that profit because Bitcoin is going to end up becoming cheaper again. All right? So to summarize it, if you don't want to buy Bitcoin, you can buy cryptocurrency companies involved in the game of crypto because this halving event is a big thing for crypto mining stocks. You want to be aiming for crypto mining stocks that do have relatively good volume on a day-to-day basis. Ideally, you want to try and focus on companies that don't have so much debt. Something like Mara, okay? There's a lot of debt right there, and I would have to see a lot from Mara to suggest to me that I'd want to invest in them. Their earnings per share is dead, okay? It's like minus 0.8, all right, 2023. And in 2024, they're expecting 0.37, all right? So I'd be very cautious with Marathon, okay? Then you've got a company like Riot. Of course, Riot Platforms provides exposure to blockchain ecosystems through targeted investments in the sector. So these guys invest in the area of cryptocurrency. Much better option, okay? Minimal. It doesn't verify the debt. Doesn't also have a great outlook, but they do have a relatively decent market cap as well, okay? So you've got options. They're cheap enough. And then you've got the ETF, okay? That's only if you don't want to have the exposure of Bitcoin. I believe Bitcoin in 10 years' time is different. The price point is different, okay? But if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, you need a 100% move to make your money back. If you're about trying to make money as soon as possible, you improve the odds of buying, or should I say making a quicker return, because that's the truth. Everybody wants to make the money now. You have a quicker return on the volatility of Bitcoin by investing in the ETF itself, okay? Or you invest in a Coinbase company, Coinbase stock, okay? When Bitcoin goes up, Coinbase goes up. Just look at Coinbase today. Here we go. Where are we at? Coinbase. Let's have a look. Up. All right? It's an up day for them. Coinbase will be looking at coming back up into this vector candle zone. Could that mean that Bitcoin's price is going to go up? Could be coming up towards this area up here at 173. Does that mean Bitcoin's price is going to go up? That's going to be fueled by NVIDIA. NVIDIA, you know, Coinbase is on the NASDAQ. If NVIDIA's going up, look at NVIDIA itself. Where is she? NVIDIA. Look at that. Killer. Market cap in the trillion. Nearly 2 trillion. Okay? So you've got NVIDIA, Riot, Marathon. Just be careful with those. The ETF, Coinbase stock itself. All right? Then you've got the companies that provide the services to the miners. That's how stock investors operate. It's not just about holding Bitcoin, all right? Because Bitcoin will go up. When I say store of value, it's literally being used and abused. That's what Bitcoin is. When it goes up, sell it. When it goes down, buy it. No one's in for the favor of Bitcoin. That's the truth. Only a few crypto enthusiasts are down for the Bitcoin. Sailor, yeah, he's buying lots of it. They're going to make a profit one day. They have to. They're going to be doing something. He says they won't sell it. Okay, cool. He won't sell it. But he will sell it because everybody has their price. Everyone has their price. And if you don't, do you think Sailor will sell his Bitcoin? He's said it many a times, but he'll be pushed if it's in the interest of the shareholders. That's one thing for sure. Okay. Here we go. I'm just having a look at your comments here. Okay. Tina, hold on a second. Tina, why do you want us to get rid of Bitcoin so badly? Are you a Matrix agent? I don't want you to get rid of Bitcoin. No. But Bitcoin is like a drug. You take it, okay? You're addicted to it. That means that when it goes up, you don't take any money off the table. People hold on to it. There are people still holding on to Bitcoin from 62,000. Look what hell they went through. And all they had to do was just take profit. And they would have been able to wait for Bitcoin maybe to come down if they were going to wait for it to come down. And they saw it kept on going down. And they could have been loading up at so much of a better discount. I'm out for Bitcoin all day, you know? But just we get the information. We're being told what's going on. They're selling. Miners are selling right now into the halving. Open interest is shooting up. People are trading it. Of course, the miners are going to have people to buy the Bitcoin. And the coins that the miners are effectively selling, they're going to commercials, okay? And they're all part of the OTC. Remember, we don't know who's buying and selling the ETF. We don't know, okay? They haven't disclosed that information just yet, all right? That's when it will get interesting. When the ETF itself reveals, or we're able to know who is buying and selling the ETF, all right? We don't know that yet. It's all over the counter. I personally believe that the miners are selling to the companies who are BlackRock, and all the gang, okay, who are effectively buying the Bitcoin to represent for the ETF. That's why I believe the ETF is very discounted. It's very, very cheap. Although they're saying the volumes are terrible, we're going into a halving event. What better time for people to get hyped up on the scarcity of Bitcoin? That's how they're selling it. But all it means is the miners only get half the reward. Okay? But people still trade it. People are still going to be on the pump. The Bitcoin halving going crazy. So that's where my logic is, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I think you should be doing. You know, use Bitcoin as a tool to make money. All right? Because when you've got money in Bitcoin and you're trying to work out whether you should add or take profit, you don't lose money taking a profit. If you did lose money taking a profit, now to park the idea of fees and what have, I'm just talking generalistically here, right? If you're taking money out of the market, all right, and it's profit, that's not a bad thing to do, okay? That means you now got more to put back in. If you're already involved in cryptocurrency and you're already in the market, then you should know Bitcoin will go up and Bitcoin will go down. You will never miss out on an opportunity to buy it, all right? But it's the way it's sold to people. You got to hold on to it and never let it go. Yes, because we need your liquidity. You are the sell liquidity. Bitcoin is a store of value, correct. But once you obtain the value, take it and prepare yourself for the next bout of movement. Holders could have capitalized on so many instances, okay? Throughout the lives, we were talking about this area right here, how price was holding. Cool, okay? It goes up. You could have loaded up inside of this area here. This was ETF, okay? It made the move up. From that point right there, depending on how much Bitcoin you held, you would have been able to capitalize on, a 15% move on Bitcoin. Regardless of the amount of money you would have committed in holding Bitcoin in spot or as an investor, you would have netted yourself 15% in principle if you were buying here and you witnessed price go all the way up to 49,000 and you sold. Who else sold at that point? The miners, okay? It only makes sense that you sell at the same time as the miners. Why are you holding on to it? Oh, I will come back to it. That's exactly what the guy said at 69, 62, 50. Capiche? We're all on the same page, ladies and gentlemen. Does that make sense? Let me have a look here. Trade, okay, so we got here, trade alts, gain profits, buy more Bitcoin. Yes, which takes me over to this bad boy over here. Bitcoin ETF, check this out. Holds more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy. He ain't happy about that. Okay? Then it's marginally anyway. It's 192,000, so 2,000 more than MicroStrategy. All right? So now all of a sudden, the ETFs look like, ooh, cool. So the trust itself, all right? The transfer agent who then goes and buys the Bitcoin, converts it over into a trust, as it stands right now, is 192,255 Bitcoin. Okay? Concentration of coins held by these entities is not a risk to the Bitcoin network. Why would they even need to be saying that? Okay, I saw a tweet that said that Grayscale have pushed nearly 67 million Bitcoin into Coinbase. Now, they've been doing this over a period of time, and if knowledge serves me correctly, exchange flows, it does say, where is my Coinbase one? Not Coinbase. No, it's not here. No, it's not here. Forget it. Never mind. No. I haven't got it here, guys. Sorry. I thought I had it. I miss my articles, man. I put them up there and then they end up disappearing. Okay? So, yeah, that's what's hitting the market now. That Bitcoins are going to, the ETFs itself starting to actually hold the same amount as MicroStrategy. So now who's going to win? The MicroStrategy or the ETF itself? So what happens when MicroStrategy buys the ETF? Could you imagine? They wouldn't buy the ETF now, would they? That'll mess things up, wouldn't it? In other news, there's this thing here. Look at this for my NFT guys. Ethereum Experiment, ERC-404, is an NFT cryptocurrency hybrid. Told you, man, the hybrid's doing things. And it's already generated $87 million in trade. So tokens on the Ethereum fall under two broad technical categories: non-fungible, fungible. Oh God, I'm not going to read all of that stuff. But the article just talks about how this new trading platform has created some liquidity. So you can tell we're getting back into crypto, guys. NFTs are starting to come up. Like, like Trump trying to run for presidency, I know a few guys have got this, these ETFs. I didn't pick any of this bad boy. I didn't get anything of it. Never mind, eh? There's not one that I like. There's literally not one that I like here. I can't take it seriously, but he's got an he's got an NFT, not an ETF, and that's great news for me. Right, what we got here? Questions. Have we got any questions, ladies and gentlemen? Tino, you're not worried about the pivot from the Fed and things dumping hard anymore? Okay, back to the pivot story. Okay, back to miners, right? The halving event is happy days for guys who trade cryptocurrency, all right? The halving event is great for investors who already hold cryptocurrency. Why? Because they then think that the price is going to go parabolic, and now they've got more valuable Bitcoin in principle, all right? The miners are the ones who get the worst of it all because their reward is now halved, okay? And they have to raise money to make sure they keep up with everything. When the Fed pivots, the last time we effectively had, we didn't really have a Fed pivot. It's when we started to increase interest rates, okay? And that was back here. Let me just pull this chart up here, right? When we started to increase the interest rates, it was just shortly after after the bull run, it was inside of this range right here, okay? When we started to increase interest rates, and it was 0%, and they started to move it up, and it was 10 basis points, all right? We've got high inflation, we've got the Russian war with Ukraine, now we've got the Israeli war and what have you, all right? Things are going crazy around the world. It's just absolute madness, okay? And then we've got this big move back up again. So we still got high interest rates, and the next logical thing is that when the Fed decides to cut interest rates, that would be effectively the Fed pivot, which historically does drop markets. Okay? In my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, we would need to see a black swan event. Okay? And the black swan event, in my opinion, I believe I saw the article. I think it was on the Financial Times, where they were talking about the idea that with the US debt, okay? I mean, let me just look at it like this. Let me just pull this bad boy up here. Check this out. If anybody doesn't know this, right? This is the US debt clock. I know you guys have seen this before, okay? This debt clock is going up, the US national debt. Each debt per taxpayer, all right? That's to you guys in America, cost the taxpayer. Effectively, you owe him $264,000, okay? So the debt per taxpayer, yeah. And this is what we got to be looking at. It's the money supply, okay? And when the money supply is getting tighter and tighter and tighter, that is a little bit of a problem for companies around the world. That's why banks are struggling like no tomorrow. You only need to have a look at banks like here. Look at this. This is why and it's all been quiet. No one's talking about it. Okay, let's look at JP Morgan. How are banks doing lately? Banks are doing okay, to be fair. All right. Bank of America. Bank of California. Well, it's not doing so well there. BAC. Bank of America. Not really great. There we go. It's trending downwards. It's a tech market. And the problem is tech stocks will always get slapped in the face when it comes to high interest rates. That's why being in cash right now is critical. That's why a black swan event, in my opinion, is China, okay, defaulting, or the Evergrande, which has already defaulted, or China stopping this influx of qualitative easing as such, okay, quantitative easing. They need to pump more money into the economy. And if they have to keep on pumping the money, that's good for the markets, but it's not really solving the longer term picture, all right? It's going to, I believe that the dollar is battered, but you can't kill the dollar idea. You know, you can't buy Bitcoin in bonds. You can't buy the bonds in Bitcoin. You know, someone said it that the next biggest thing in cryptocurrency is countries to countries transacting in Bitcoin, like legitimately. not what's going on behind the scenes, right? We already know that America's transacting with Bitcoin. We know that, but it's not a common thing. Like, it's not put out there. You're not going to look in the articles and be like, oh, wow, look, it says America sent Bitcoin to, you know. What else we got here? What about when they cut rates and increase productivity? Tino, everyone on YouTube and Twitter are copying you and your system. Man, it's a joke, and they all try to be you, but they can't. Look, man, if they're copying, that's fine, you know. But you always want to go back to where it come from in principle. That way, you're going to get a better explanation of it. That's what I think. If I see someone that plays like Ronaldo football, he models himself on Ronaldo, I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna go watch Ronaldo. You know, because I know Ronaldo exists. I know he can play him. You know, he can watch how he plays. You can just take the Ronaldo. Am I the Ronaldo of the hybrid? Well, I started the hybrid. I understand the hybrid. I think I understand the hybrid. Okay? Created the hybrid. So I should understand it. And if I don't sound like I understand it, well, ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves a problem. That's where you go over and take the course, ladies and gentlemen. It's free of charge. My days. But yeah, that's where we're at. What other questions have we got, man, while we just scour what else is going on in cryptocurrency? There you go. Marathon Holdings, the largest US miner, said it would sell Bitcoin from their reserves in the past to cover operating expenses. But since curbing debt last year, the firm has been adding to its cash and Bitcoin position. So it's got about $1 billion of cash and Bitcoin on the balance sheet. All right. That war chest includes 15,741 Bitcoin, provides us with the flexibility to do well if Bitcoin's historical price cycles repeat. So they're relying on the past. Now, listen, if historically, the only valid thing is this, the Chinese New Year. I think we've got enough information. All right. And if anybody can go back, I would like to know if someone could do this. Okay. If you can go back from the year Bitcoin started, which was 2009, which happens to be my year. That's my year. I'm in the year of the ox. No, I am not Satoshi. My cousin is. And I can say that as a joke. Would you believe me? No. But why wouldn't you believe me? Why do I always talk about Bitcoin? Why is it only Bitcoin? Yeah, I'll talk about altcoins, but why am I always talking about Bitcoin? Why does Bitcoin always move when I finish my lives? See, I could be taking the sweet pea right now. You wouldn't believe me. But the greatest thing that ever happened was, as the Frenchman said it, Satan making everyone believe that he didn't exist. I'm not Satoshi. Anyways, what else you got? What's this? Tino, when market cipher B? Oh, man. When? When what? I don't know that. I don't know. Tino explains. Tino, can you see the bear? Can you see the bear on the Bitcoin daily chart? The bear on Bitcoin daily. Tino, do you think Bitcoin will ever drop to below 10,000? Look, you've got other guys that are all talking about Bitcoin following cycles, okay? But just hear me out here, okay? In chat right now. Okay, let's answer this. Let's look at it from this perspective, okay? Good old miners, yeah? All right, cool. In principle, to mine all of the Bitcoin, all right? So the fifth halving expected 2028, okay? That means the miners will pick up 1.56 Bitcoin, okay? It's going to take around, there you go, all the blocks. I think it's going to be another 144 years-ish when all 21 million coins will have been mined, okay? So if Bitcoin's going to be around for that long, okay, you're saying to me it can never go to certain price points. Never. What if, and it's the truth, what if Bitcoin does this? You know? All right, just eliminate zero, but just for the nature of demonstration, okay? What if it does that? Can you say indefinitely it won't? No, you can't, because we don't know. All right? We don't have much history. Okay? What a guy. What a guy. That's history. Okay? That's the history of the stock market. You've seen me share this before, and this is for all the new guys coming in. This is the stock market, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, and the S&P, okay? From the start of 1900, okay? It's got every recession in here, the Wall Street crash. It's got absolutely everything, okay? What else has it got in here? I'm going to tell you what it's got, right? So, big events. Let's go with, here's an example. So we have Bank of America Security, Pacific merger, savings and loan bailouts. We've also got the JFK assassination, okay, Blue Monday, institutional ownership. What else we got? Banks begin offering CDs, all right? Cigarette advertising has been banned, okay, and that was in 1970. Tells me who's been in charge, the Republicans and the Democrats, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter. Shows me all of that flavor at the top right there. Shows me the federal funds rate and where the unemployment rate was back in 1986, where it was at what? Minus 5.2%, okay? We're seeing these facts here, and then we're going on to charts, and we're saying that it could never. Categorically, it's been only going up, but that's a stock market. Why? Well, the stock market operates a little bit differently, ladies and gentlemen, okay? There's interest. It's human nature. Bitcoin's not so much a stock, okay? It's a store of value, for the better word, which means that when they get enough value of it, they're going to pull it, okay? And then they're going to rinse and repeat. It's the same thing. That's what happens in the stock market. That's what happens everywhere. Fundamentally, Bitcoin is receptive to people's behavior. The stock market is receptive to people's behavior, okay? Whatever peak Bitcoin makes, okay, they will come all the way back down again, grab the same amount of interest they did before, and send it all the way back up again. That's the nature of it. Because it's such a volatile asset, that's what it's going to do. Now, is Bitcoin going to end up like Berkshire Hathaway? Okay, what's Berkshire Hathaway? Here we go. BKR, Berkshire Hathaway, where is it? I think it's this one. There you go. That's what nearly $600,000 stock share price looks like. Just look at it. It's going up. Now, this was when it was at 80,000. 80,000. It's going. 600,000. This stock could end up becoming $1 million. No one's talking about it. Everyone's banged about Bitcoin being being 70K. So it's environments that we can get in, but look how many people trade it. Look at its average daily volume. This is a store of value. 9,000 shares. That's the only way I think Bitcoin could never go down like aggressively unless it does it first before it goes up. I don't think Bitcoin would go to like 200,000, for example, then come all the way down. I think they would bring it down first before they make that big move. Because we could just be starting off Bitcoin. Again, this could be Bitcoin just after it gets listed on PancakeSwap. Any altcoin that gets listed anywhere does this. Comes down, and then it starts its move back up again. Are we on the same page? Cool. I'm going to take some more questions and let you guys be, okay? I did say I wanted to try and keep it as short as possible, but yeah. When should we sell Bitcoin before the halving? It's not about when you should sell the Bitcoin before the halving. It's what you do when you sell it, okay? If you sell your Bitcoin before the halving, then you need to have an avenue of getting back into. So are you going, like I said in this live tonight, are you going to pick up the ETF when you sell your Bitcoin? All right. If you don't want to sit through the price volatility of Bitcoin, or you've got all these altcoins, your bag. Okay. I know it might not be practical for you to get rid of everything before the halving, but the same way the halving brings volatility and wild price surges, We focus on the potential of it going up, but we don't really pay attention to it coming down. Because again, if miners are selling, then they're going to be selling pretty aggressively just so they can keep up with their operating costs in making sure that they're getting the best of the rewards. Okay? It's going to move up. It's going to move down. Doesn't mean Bitcoin is not going to hit 70,000. It doesn't mean it's not going to hit 100K, just by the nature of how cryptocurrency is. I think we need more interest in crypto, and I think we've got more interest now in cryptocurrency than we had before the last halving, okay? It was only the guys in cryptocurrency that knew about the halving. Everyone else was like, what is this? Halving of what? Is Bitcoin a cake? What's that about? That's the sort of thing people were probably saying. Yeah? Tino loves rainbows and Steve. Oh, God. Tina, Tina, would you say the drop on euro during London session was locking of the peak formation on the 1.06 mark? Will not come down to this cycle. I'll mention that tomorrow for you, man. Tino, who you got, Trump or Biden? I guess it's a long or a short, huh? Well, coming up to election time, this is when the markets get a bit busy, all right? Because we're now going into what would appear to be a change of fiscal policy, monetary policy. It's all going to change. I wonder what Trump is going to do. You know, what's the first thing he's going to do if he were to get into office? All right, because it looks like Biden's doing a good job, isn't it? Interest rates are flying high. The employment market is rock solid. Inflation is up. The debt is at 336 trillion. That's growing and growing and growing. There are a couple of wars happening overseas. America are funding them. So we're all good on that front. There's money all over the place. The printer's working perfectly fine. And everyone's bringing heat to Bitcoin. Who wants to consider the energy usage of Bitcoin? Ah, man, please don't even get me started on that. And I'm not getting into it at all. If you think I should get into that kind of chat, no, I'm not. I'll probably get told off. But anyways. What else we got here? Tino. So here we go. Tino. So near the end, and really when all the Bitcoin has been mined, you can't mine, and so the network won't operate anymore, value to zero, right? So you're asking me what's going to happen in 144 years. I think I'm good. Bloody hell, bro. I'm not that good. You don't know what it's going to be like in 144 years. Bro, 5, 10 years. Next week. I have no clue what next week is going to be looking like. You know? Next week. Well, look what happened to Solana, man. The outage of Solana. Did anyone expect that? No. That's the problem with cryptocurrency. You don't expect it. But the more you harness that in your mindset and approach to investing in crypto, you're covering yourself. So if you're an investor in Bitcoin, now we're coming to the halving. You're playing with your mind saying whether you should hold it because you feel that you're going to be able to take the benefit of volatility to the upside. Ask yourself the question. If miners are selling right now, why are you still holding? Okay? Now, granted, you might not have the same bag as a miner does. Like we're talking 15, 16,000 Bitcoin. If they're only selling a portion of that, say 2,000, 3,000 to raise capital, it's not really hurting bank on them. But if you have, say, for example, 3 Bitcoin and you were to sell it now, realistically, how much would you be making off that? And when you look at that, you then say to yourself, well, what do I need Bitcoin to do? I need Bitcoin to jump up to 120K just to make my money back to make my return back if I purchased it at 60K. Now, if you purchased at 16 and on the assumption that you hold a 1 Bitcoin, okay, you would have made your money back and some more, okay? Happy days, all right? You're in good territory. But people are coming to crypto now, rushing to buy Bitcoin, being told to hold on to it, okay? When realistically, if they were to play these little cycles in Bitcoin up and down, all right? They would be accumulating quite a bit of profits, and then they will have more money to buy the Bitcoin, which means they would then need to hold it for a less amount of time because any increases in Bitcoin will be netting them a nice little return. Rinse and repeat, okay? And you'll be doing exactly this structure right here on Bitcoin. This whole thing of this whole up and down on Bitcoin is going to be exactly the same up here when it goes into the 160s mark. That's exactly what's going to happen. You'll see exact same structure. There'll be a moment where it just goes sideways. It moves up, hits the high of 180,000, then comes all the way back down again, and then it's trading sideways. And then we then go through this experience right here where we're waiting for the next move to happen, and then it rolls over and starts all over again. That's exactly what's going to happen with Bitcoin. It's the cycle. It happens all over the place with all assets across the board. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that was a sufficient amount of information within a reasonable amount of time. Again, if you are new and you've enjoyed tonight, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, comment below on anything that I've mentioned tonight you want more information on, and I'll get to try and answer all of those questions for you. Make sure you hit the bell as well, because we'll be going live again tomorrow for the New York Open. That way we can talk about Bitcoin a little bit more. All right? Wicked. Mad love and respect, guys. Take care of yourselves. And I'll check in with you all tomorrow. Peace.